Hi, I'm Jules. I'm an Ojibwe parent of 3 Black Indigenous autistic children. I want to tell you about my experience as a parent learning about autism. During my children's early years, I struggled with parenting. My approach to parenting was a combination of different methods, although attachment parenting resonated most with me. But there were just some things I couldn't find answers for. I didn't have the language to describe what we were experiencing. In the early 2000s, when my eldest child was about 2 years old, I searched the internet to ask, why is my toddler flapping? And I stumbled across information about autism, but I couldn't connect what I was reading to what was happening with my child. The things that I read about autism were terrible, and my child is a gift. Despite the struggles, I always felt lucky to be his mother. In Ojibwe culture, we are taught that our children choose us to be their parents. Not because we will be a perfect parent, but because our child believes that we can become the parent they need us to be. They believe in us. We have a responsibility to become the parent that our children need. There is a huge cultural chasm in how I experienced parenting my child and how the world perceives autism. In my life, I've never heard a Native parent describe their child as the sum of their deficits. That's just not how we talk about our children. Dominant perspectives of autism are very colonized ideas, and what others view as problems, we accept without question. All human beings are sacred. We value people for who they are, not what they can do. Over time, I sought medical advice for seemingly unrelated concerns for my son. His toes turned in when he walked, so we were referred to an orthopedic surgeon. The surgeon recommended we keep an eye on things, but that no braces or surgical intervention were necessary. He had frequent collisions with door frames and furniture, so we consulted with an ophthalmologist. His vision was perfectly fine. No one really had any helpful answers. As he got older, I noticed his development was uneven. He excelled in some areas, particularly things that he was interested in. He is kind and smart. He could teach me all about the topics that he's into. He struggled in other areas. He couldn't follow multi-step directions, and he was bullied pretty terribly in school. I knew it wasn't autism, though, because of what I had read about autism awareness. Then, when he was 10 years old, he was diagnosed with autism. True to my parenting philosophy and Ojibwe teachings, I wanted to learn everything I could so that I could become the mother he needed me to be. I was so thankful to have a name to describe what we were experiencing, relieved to be able to learn more to better support him. That's when I learned about the differences between the medical model of disability, which presents autistic people as the problem, and the social model of disability, which recognizes that our environments disable us. I knew there was nothing wrong with my son, and I knew he was struggling. Having an autism diagnosis gave me access to the language that the medical model of disability uses, but I use it to better understand and support my children in a way that is consistent with my personal and cultural beliefs. I learned words like splinter skills, which means he is really successful in some areas, but needs support to be successful in other areas. Or dyspraxia, which describes difficulty with motor planning and coordination. In other words, moving his body around. And impulsivity, which I'd only been able to describe as he just does things without a reason and without thinking things through. I've also learned about executive functioning, which is a phrase used to describe the planning and implementation of tasks. With this new knowledge, I was able to identify that my other children are autistic too. Not knowing or having the support we needed when my children were young was tough, but I wouldn't change anything about them. They're fantastic people, and I'm so proud of them. Now that I know what autism really is, and not the stigma and stereotypes of what it is, it's easier for me to find ways to support my children. Unfortunately, the medical model of disability still dominates the conversation, and supports and services are based on colonial and capitalist ideas. We're still working out how to access culturally responsive care, but it's important to me that we all have access to the tools and supports that we need in order to live good lives. Living a good life is the Ojibwe way.